The Nintendo Wii was truly a massive success for Nintendo. No more planning into the performance, but daring to try something new. And the Wii achieved this with the motion controls, which were well received in retirement homes, but were a complete failure among hardcore gamers. But some people ask the question, how does the motion control work? Because somehow that has to be converted into digital so that our technical devices can understand it. And that's exactly the reason we're looking at this in another Tech Insight episode. Hey everyone! Yeah, I invested in a decent microphone here because some people told me I should buy one. Well, but in any case, I found another reason to talk about my favorite gaming console, the Nintendo Wii. Yes, because the almost 19-year-old console is still alive, in form of memes, and there's still a very active community for it. Which makes sense since the console has sold almost 100 million times, and it's Nintendo's third best-selling console, followed by the Switch and the Nintendo DS. Well, but we have one technology to thank for the fact that the Wii and other devices work the way as we expect them to. Namely, the motion control. It's in pretty much everything right now. Controllers, fitness trackers, cell phones, sex toys, wrong format. Motion controls were actually developed for airplanes, because someone wanted to make it easier to control such an aircraft. So they tinkered with it a bit, and after 10 years of development, they even received a patent for it in 1999. The company behind it, Gyration, owned by Tom Quinn, thought this concept could also work in the gaming market. Microsoft itself was satisfied with this idea, but the Xbox team wasn't. They weren't interested in it. I just wonder if they ever did anything with motion controls again. Or what was it called again? I don't know. Oh well, Tom went to Sony, but the price wasn't right for the mass production. Well, but Sony declined in the offer, but later they have motion controls in the PS3 controller, but they're produced by someone else, that they are inferior and not as precise. As they say, quality has its price. And what can I say? The last one was Nintendo on the list, who, after the release of the Nintendo GameCube, wanted to overhaul their business strategy with the successor console. And this idea with the motion control was what impressed everyone. And then we had it, the Wii. Nintendo tried something different, and with massive success. And it didn't matter that the first Wii Remotes only had kind of like, let's say, simple motion control. Because there are two types of motion controls, an accelerometer and a gyroscope sensor. First I want to explain the accelerometer, as it's built into all Wii Remotes and the first PlayStation 3 controllers. And the way I'm explaining it here is meant to be simple and understandable for everyone. This means that although what's shown here is actually built in, there may be some internal differences. An accelerometer is basically quite simple. You can imagine it something like this. You have a rail with a weight on it. Okay, to be realistic, there are 3 rails inside for 3 axes of movement. But to keep it simple, let's just look at one. So at both ends on this rail is a potentiometer that increases the resistance depending on how close the weight gets to it. And if I now move the Wii Remote forward, the weight moves through the potentiometer, which measures the resistance and transmits it to the console. In the same way, if I move the controller backward, the weight moves through the other direction and the other potentiometer detects it. And if we then have this rail 3 times, we have the movement for all 3 axes. For left, right, up or down, and forward and backward. And you can see that this principle for an accelerometer is quite simple. And on the Wii, it worked well for the first games. And thanks to the sensor bar, navigating menus was also easy. But this system wasn't perfect because it couldn't provide more precise data. But this was finally resolved for Nintendo in 2009, when Wii Motion Plus came available. With this add-on for the Wii Remote, it was finally possible to obtain more precise motion data. This was demonstrated in Wii Play Motion, in the minigame with balancing ice balls, or in Zelda Skyward Sword, where you could then better control Link's sword movements and master more complex tasks here. And later remotes have the Motion Plus integrated into it. But the older remotes have to rely on the module, and we have a gyroscope sensor in the Motion Plus system to thank for this. The functionality behind it is also easily explained, but as mentioned before, it could actually be a bit different than what I'm telling here. But the function-wise, it's pretty much the same. And well, here we need some physics lesson here. Do you know the experiment where you have a bicycle tire and attach one side to a rope and the other side with your hand, and then remove your hand there and it stays in place while the movement? Basically, a moving wheel is also included in a gyro sensor, because the rotating wheel stays fixed in its position. You can attach then 3 potentiometers, which then transmit the resistance to the console. And that's the reason why you have to calibrate the remote for some Motion Plus games. But this can be explained roughly like this. To save power, this wheel is turned off when not in use. Only when it's turned on, it has to be calibrated that the console knows exactly where this wheel is. Using this method, it's then returned to its neutral position so that everything just works. And there you can see that this system is also quite simple. But some people wonder what it's like in today's world, where such sensors still exist, and how they manage to do it without calibration. Well, the Switch 2 still has the Wii's DNA, since the Joy-Cons support motion controls. Sony also built in a gyro sensor into the DualShock 3 then, and up until to the PlayStation 5, it was incomposed into the DualShock 5 and also into the Move controllers. Who remember those Move controllers? Microsoft had the Kinect, and no Xbox controller ever had motion controls in it. But this wasn't just for gaming. All smartphones and smartwatches have such sensors built in to log fitness activities. However, modern gyro sensors no longer need to be calibrated. As the wheel we had before, it always brought back to its neutral position with magnets. Okay, it's a bit differently because it uses the Earth's magnetic field, but I'll explain it here so that everyone understands it. And I hope everyone now understands how the motion controls work. Not as 100% accurate because it can be a slight difference inside it, but the main concept behind it is the same. So the next time you throw your Wii Remote into the TV, remember there's more physics inside this thing than you think. A mini gyroscope that started out as a bicycle tire. And I'll just say this. If you want to see more episodes like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel here so you don't miss out these. And if I happen to forget something, I can always make a short video about it. And then I'll say, we see us in the next video.